Hi, this is Jim. It's Sunday, July 16th. Here's your daily and weekly COVID-19 update for Georgia Metrics. We'll start off with the daily report, and we had a very unusually low testing day today. This is the first time since the 4th of July when you would expect testing to be low because everybody's doing other things, that we did not pass 20,000 tests in a day. We've only seen that 3 times since July 1st. We've seen it below 20,000. One of those was Independence Day weekend, and the other 2 were, I think they were both Sundays. So it's pretty low. And that really does seem to be driving fewer cases. We had a 12% positive rate. 10.8% positive rate for the day, 12% for the week. That's below the 7-day average and up from 8.5% last Sunday. So very unusual to see this data, and I'm wondering why we're not seeing potentially more impact from the Hartsfield-Jackson location, which was supposed to be a super testing site and get us 5,000 tests a day all on its own. So very curious as to why that data is not where we expected to see it. We have not had a day this low for cases since July 25th. So if you exclude the July 4th weekend. So again, a significantly fewer cases. And I think we would all love to say, yay, that means cases are going back down to where we want to see them and life's going to be rosy. I don't feel like that's going to hang in there if we're not seeing the testing. And I'll get into that in the weekly update in a second. The deaths information did not get any better this week and this Sunday. We had one of the highest Sundays that I can recall in a long time. 33 fatalities announced today. That is up 20 from last week. That drove our 7-day average to 72 a day. That's 3 deaths an hour in Georgia. It was 51 last week. So in the course of a week, we've increased it by, doing the math in my head, 50% almost for daily deaths. That's a lot. And it boggles me why we still don't have a statewide mask order in place. In my scientific mind, it boggles me. In my political mind, I kind of understand it, but I'm really disappointed about it. So we'll see how things continue to go on there. Another interesting data point, I don't know, maybe this is just small numbers, but typically we see active hospitalizations go down on a Sunday. We actually saw it come up a little bit to 2603. That's up from 17. It is down materially from last week, but just unusual that we see that number go up instead of down on a Sunday, which makes me think there's something else about the tests going on, because that feels like we've seen to be the most real-time impactful data from our info. Did not have CCU data by the time I recorded this video, so I will get that updated again tomorrow. And just a quick note here, it's the 16th of the month, so I roll every 15 days or 16 days, depending on the length of the month. I roll the data back, so we're not looking at the end of June data anymore. We're just looking at July 1st on to keep these charts at 45 to 60 days. Now I will also publish, you'll see the weekly chart here in a second, and I also publish the full pandemic view once a week, so that comes up on Wednesday. You can go back and look at last Wednesday's on Reddit, or you can stay tuned, and there'll be another one coming up in 3 days. Also didn't do a school report today. Not as much activity, so I didn't want to produce a whole thing, but I did hear a third school in Cherokee County has closed for 3 weeks for cleaning now. So I think that's the third of 5 high schools now in Cherokee County that are closed and will be doing virtual learning. So interesting to see how that has continued to go. And really, another question, if we're getting, maybe it's in this data somewhere in the, 1,800 cases we saw, but if we're getting 25 cases per school, we've got those 3 high schools opened up, we've got other schools impacted, it would feel like this data would be coming up as well. Maybe we just haven't seen that blip yet. So we will watch for that as we go forward. Okay, weekly update trends. Let me, really kind of talk about the testing trends here first. So we had 20,000 new cases. Sounds like a lot. Is a lot if you're comparing it to June, April, and May, but not a lot for if you're comparing to July and August. Testing was off by more than 40,000 over last week. Now, I don't expect it to be a peak week every week, but I do expect it to be more in the 200,000 a week range, especially, as I said, when we added testing capacity this week. So what I did was just real quick math. I took an average of the last 2 weeks for tests, which came out to be around 210,000 tests, which means we were short of the last 2 week average by 33,000. We are at a 12% positive rate on the 7-day average. If you take those and factor them in with the number of cases we had, we are probably have another 4,000 cases that we would have found if we had tested to the average of the last 2 weeks' case. Maybe there's something that's driving that just people are less sick, but again, judging by all the other data we're seeing, it doesn't feel like that's consistent with what's going on out there. So, asterisk there is, I feel like testing is understated or testing is underperformed, so cases are understated. That's my takeaway there. Looking at the mortality rate, we saw last week was our 3rd week of record highs. We had a 4th week of record high. We passed last week's record by 144 deaths. First week we've passed 500 deaths. You can see there's, if you go back to April, there's some 2-week periods when we didn't have 500 deaths. If you go back to late June and combined up, you need to get 3 weeks before we had 500 deaths. So it's definitely a significant number here. We are seeing a 40% increase week over week. It's the 6th straight week of increasing fatalities. Now, if we look at the increase in cases, we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks where it increased, and then it plateaued for 3 weeks before it started creeping back down. Maybe we're at the peak and we're going to see a plateau of 500 deaths a week for the next few weeks. All I know is, sometime in the middle of next week, we're going to pass 5,000 deaths in the state of Georgia, and that's a really rough figure to have to deal with. I'm having a hard time wrapping myself around that figure and the fact that as a state and as a society, we're doing all we can to help mitigate that. But you can't control what you can't control, right? So I'll tell you about it and hope enough people are doing the best they can to help continue to keep that number down. New hospitalizations were down 6%. That's consistent with the decline in active beds, and I mentioned the. I'll go back to the weekly here, or to the daily here. Here's this purple. Here is the purple on the bottom right is GEMA active hospitalizations. And we've actually seen that go down 250 this week. So that is a good number. That was a decline of 9%. And hopefully that number will stay in that range over the next few weeks. And we'll see that continue to decline as well. So as I said, tomorrow we'll catch up on the CCU data. We'll watch the trends here as far as school data, and we'll get that updated, as well as another set of daily numbers. Expect those to be, I want to say seasonally, but daily low for Monday. And we'll continue through next week and see where that takes us as we're leading up to Labor Day, which will be another case where hopefully everybody won't go out and get crazy like we saw at University of North Georgia yesterday. They had a big lawn party or house party last night. I saw the video. There were probably 300 to 400 people there, and if I saw 5 masks, it was a lot. So lots of beer though. So I get what it's like to be a college kid, but in the same respect, being a college kid during a pandemic may require a little bit of different control of yourself. So. All right, I've been enough of a bummer today. I will be back tomorrow with more updates. Until then, have a nice night, nice morning, whatever the case may be. And Bill Tush, sorry I ripped that off from you.